follow the Lamb. We are with the Lamb. We are, he that overcomes I will grant to sit with me on my throne, even as I have overcome and have sat down on the throne of the Father. So these are redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto God and to the Lamb, and in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of God. So, of course, neither the Jehovah's Witnesses or Herbert W. Armstrong group could really qualify again for the 144,000. Without fault before the throne of God. In Jude, he closes that little book by declaring, "Now unto him who is able to keep you from falling, and to present you faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding joy." When the Lord presents you to the Father, faultless, exceeding joy. And so these also are presented faultless before God. And the only way we can be faultless is that our faults have been washed and cleansed by the blood of Jesus. So John said, "I saw another angel." And he is in the midst of heaven, flying in the midst of heaven, and he has the everlasting gospel to preach to every nation and kindred and tongue and people. And he says with a loud voice, "Fear God, give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come. Worship him that made the heaven and the earth and the sea and the fountains of waters." Here to me is a very interesting and an amazing thing, and that is we are in the Great Tribulation period. It is almost over. There are only 7 vials of God's wrath that are yet to be poured out, as we will get in chapter 16. Most of the damage has already been done from the great judgment of God. And even at this point, you might say the last hour, the last of the Great Tribulation period, God is still sending his angels to bring the everlasting gospel to the people on the earth. And I look at this as the grace of God still being extended for those who will turn to worship the Lord and to serve the Lord. So this angel is calling on them at this hour during the great judgment period and declaring to the people, "Fear God and give glory to him, because the hour of his judgment has come." And God's still offering salvation unto them. And we get down to verse 9, we'll see that a little further, the warning. "And there followed another angel, saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all of the nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication." When we get to chapter 17, a couple of weeks from now, we will take a look at this declaration, Babylon is fallen, because we will be dealing with Babylon, the fall of Babylon, and this is that religious false system, and we'll be looking at the Babylonian religion, and where really, you remember the Tower of Babel, and where God destroyed the people, separated them and so forth. But there was sort of the beginning of man's attempt to be as God, to reach heaven on his own efforts. And so we'll be looking at that when we get to chapter 17. Verse 9, the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worships the beast, that is the Antichrist, or his image, or receives his mark in their forehead or in their hand, the same will drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. He will be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. Back in chapter 13, we read concerning this man of sin, actually the beast he's called, who rises out of the nations, who controls the world, and who requires that every man take a mark in his right hand or in his forehead, and unless you have that mark, you will not be able to buy or sell. Now here is the angel warning people, don't take the mark. The false prophet comes around and he demands that people worship the Antichrist and has power to put to death those that refuse to worship the Antichrist. But people will not just blindly worship the Antichrist. They will be warned by the angel not to do it, flying through the midst of heaven, declaring that if anyone receives his mark in their forehead or on his hand, they will drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he will be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And it goes on to say, the smoke of their torment ascends up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night who worship the beast and his image, or whosoever receives the mark of his name. Let me just say, there are some of you here tonight, I know, that you sort of are a little skeptical about the Bible and what the Bible teaches concerning the future. I have to confess that I don't understand your skepticism. I think it's because you don't have all of the facts. I think if you really would study it and look at the prophecies and see how they have been fulfilled so accurately, you really couldn't have any question or skepticism concerning these things that are going to happen. The Lord up to this point is batting 1,000%. Not one good word of prophecy has yet failed. And if you are thinking, well, you know, that's not going to happen, that can't happen, you are only in a fool's paradise because of the fact of God's proven record of accuracy in prophecy. God said I would do it, and I have done it. And that was concerning the nation of Israel, going back to the land and redeveloping it from an agricultural base, as an agricultural base. And God said, I said it, and I will do it. And what can you say? He's done it. They are back in the land. And so to think that God would bring us this far and then just dump the whole program. Say, oh, well, it was, forget it. No, he's going to go ahead and he's going to do the rest of it. But so if you have that skepticism and you don't want to commit your life to Christ and you don't want to believe, just take this as a word of warning. When the angel comes through the midst of heaven and gives the warning not to take the mark of the beast, not to worship this